Hi everyone, and in this video I'm going to be discussing my experience with coprolalia. Now, coprolalia is the offensive, inappropriate and obscene tics, which can include swearing, and this tic affects approximately 10 to 15% of people with Tourette syndrome, so it's quite rare. However, I do think it still needs awareness because it can lead to a lot of social isolation and can be very difficult to deal with, especially when it comes to the reactions of others. So my coprolalia first really started when I was about 8 or 9 years old, but it was just a tic where I'd yell F-U-K-E. So it wasn't that noticeable because people, obviously I spelt it wrong, that's not actually how you spell the F word, but I know it's coprolalia because it was based on a swear word. However, I'm pretty sure that everyone around me was just grateful I could spell it. But then when I was 13, I think was the first time I actually experienced like full-blown coprolalia, and it was, I think, around Christmas. I think it might have been Christmas Eve, and I was at my nan's house and I felt this really strong urge building up, and I was trying to redirect it in other ways because I didn't want to say anything inappropriate, obviously, and I was trying to redirect it. However, as soon as I left the house, it all came out and exploded, and that's when I developed full-blown coprolalia. Luckily, that only lasted a few days, and yes, over Christmas Day I was ticking and swearing a lot. However, after a few days it went away, so I just put it down to excitement and then left it and didn't really think about it again. However, about a year later, when I was 14 years old, it came back, because when I was 14 I had sort of an increase in tics. So I remember I was going into school and I felt the urge to sit on the floor, and I was thinking, am I going to start sitting on the floor in a minute? And yes, I did. And that wasn't too bad, obviously. It was pretty harmless sitting on the floor. However, later that evening I started like rolling around on the floor and swearing, so that was a bit of an extreme outburst of tics. But then the next day when I was at school, I think it was lunchtime. I'd gone through most of the day without like any swearing tics or anything, but it was lunchtime and I came out of the school toilets and just started yelling really random phrases and inappropriate stuff, and lots of people were laughing because obviously they hadn't seen this before, and people were following me around because they just wanted to see me swear. But it was a very awkward situation to be in. And then I went to citizenship lesson, and I then realised how inappropriate my tics can be, because the lesson was about something, like it was about a very sensitive topic because it was a citizenship lesson, and my tics decided to yell the worst thing I could yell in that situation. Yeah. It is important to know though that my tics, obviously I don't choose what I tic and they don't reflect my opinion and they're not what I'm thinking. But yes, it was very awkward, and I was trying to censor myself, like I was trying to muffle it out and stuff. However, like even though I was trying to muffle it out, it didn't really work that well because it was so loud. So I eventually used like my Pupil Support Centre card to leave the class, and it was quite awkward because everyone was like, what's going on, because most people knew I had Tourette's, but I don't think they'd seen it like this before. So yeah, I went to the Pupil Support Centre, and again I thought this was going to be a bit similar to like the Christmas thing where it just lasts a few days, but unfortunately the coprolalia lasted about 2 years. But I think either the next day or the day after that I was in a French lesson and we had a substitute teacher, and this teacher, I'm not sure if she knew I had Tourette's or not, but I had a lot of swearing tics, and an assistant head teacher came in to bring some students in who were late to the class, but I accidentally yelled F off at him. Luckily, I think he could see the embarrassment on my face and realised that I obviously couldn't control it, so he just went away. But then the substitute teacher sent me out of the class and I had to stand outside. She came out again. I said, please can I come back in now? And she said, no, not until you stop swearing. I tried to explain to her that these swearing tics, inappropriate tics and random tics are totally involuntary, just like all my other tics, but unfortunately she still just said, no, you're not coming in. Then I started crying because I was like, I didn't go through 4 years of hell to be treated like this, because people don't really understand what people with Tourette's actually go through. So the fact that I get discriminated against for something that I can't control, and some people seem to treat it like it's a behavioural problem when it's not, it's obviously very distressing. So I went to the Pupil Support Centre again and explained what was happening. Luckily that teacher was educated on Tourette's and she never did it again. But coprolalia can be very interesting to experience because I think when you're around understanding people, it doesn't affect you as much, because if people don't get offended, then you're not going to feel guilty about it because you know that this isn't you saying it and you can't control it. However, when you're in public and people comment on it or give you really dirty looks, then that's definitely an issue. Because I think the worst situation I was in was when I was in the shopping centre with my friends and I was yelling some really offensive things, and this man just came up to me and said, "Do you realise how stupid you look?" And I said to him, "I have Tourette's, I can't help it." And he said, "You can help it, you're faking it." So I don't like the fact that people with Tourette's are accused of faking it, because it's really ridiculous, because Tourette's can be severe. My Tourette's was very severe, and just because our tics are severe doesn't mean we're faking it, because Tourette's is a spectrum. Some people are mild, some people are very severe. So I think that understanding coprolalia is actually really important, because it's not a behavioural issue and it's just your brain misfiring signals. So I think, obviously, another one of the worst things about coprolalia is when I offend people without meaning to, because sometimes I'll tic the most horrible thing I could yell. My tics are quite, I'm not even going to say it, they're just so, they can be racist and very sexual and stuff, which is obviously horrible, and it doesn't reflect my opinion at all, obviously, because I tend to tic what I shouldn't tic, which obviously leaves me feeling mortified, and then everyone around me, if they don't understand, then they'll be offended, and then I feel bad because I don't want to offend people. So I think that's another one of the worst things about coprolalia. So I do believe that understanding of coprolalia is so important, because if you're in an accepting environment, then it isn't going to bother you that much. I hope this video is informative, and I hope you know more about coprolalia now, and if you want to learn more, then you can look at the links in the description. I always put some links about Tourette's and stuff, so I hope this video helped. Bye!